that come from rumors and stuff like that. But it's a lot of there are a lot of misconceptions around nuclear energy, and I think that it's a very viable source of energy. And like there's also another very important misconception that people might use it for military purposes. Like there are countries, for example, in the UAE, there's this plant called the Baraka power plant, and there's a lot of opposition about it because people think that its enemies might just attack the nuclear plant and it might just try to detonate it in order to create widespread civilian casualties in the area and so on. So I think that and also it's an important note is that a lot of the developing countries are the ones which make the better nuclear plants, because the developed countries are not willing to make to fund these plants. So I think that the developing countries should also have start funding these plants. So, yeah.
Sorry, just a quick note there. I'd just like to verify something. Does this have any correlation to climate change whatsoever? So far, you're telling me that all countries need to.
Like it's about the energy. Like we need to move away from fossil fuels, right?
No, I understand that, but then, so is your topic based on consumption of fossil fuels as a way of promoting climate change, or is it about nuclear energy being a much better way?
Much better alternative for energy.
Yeah. So which one is your topic?
Nuclear energy being a much better alternative.
I suggest that wouldn't actually be a very good thing to say, because we are kind of talking about climate change. So I suggest, just my suggestion, just putting it out there, if you were to talk about how fossil fuels aid climate change and then you can say, okay, the solution to this could be like nuclear energy, or you could go on to talk about different types of energy, but do not make nuclear energy as the main subject of everything. Talk about how fossil fuel consumption is bad for the climate and how it aids climate change, but don't make it the main point.
I just thought that much might be
obvious. Don't make nuclear energy the main point.
I just thought that much might be obvious.
No, it's not going to be obvious. The thing is, yeah, I understand. They're trying to throw a feint and then throw a punch, but then it doesn't really. This is a very formal, thing. It's a very formal meeting with a whole lot of people, and I'm guessing a couple of UN representatives are also going to be there. So I suggest you tackle, instead of beating around the bush and then having people figure out that there is a bush, let's go straight to the root of the situation and let them.
Aaron, there are people who are raising their hands also. So keep looking at the chat box as well when you're talking. All of you, when you're talking, look at the chat box. Because we don't have a moderator, it would be nice if one student could be a moderator. Who could, allow person who is.
Could have 1 minute, ma'am, for each of them to, those of them who have raised their hands, to suggest what they have in their mind. I think Sindhuja, Suresh, they both have raised their hand. So can we give them 1 minute each to say what they want to share? Yeah, Sindhuja, time yourself 1 minute and go ahead.
All right. Okay, so I just started the timer. Okay, first of all, I like the way you presented your ideas, Ajay. I see where you're going because I did the same topic last time and I liked your approach. The only thing that I would want you to look into is look at the status quo of nuclear energy in India. You didn't give specificity to our country yet, so I think it'll be better if you do that, as well as you can talk about some of the government initiatives that they've taken so that there's a positive side in the talk talk as well. And yeah, like Aaron said, you were focusing on nuclear energy a lot, which is fine because you're talking about how that could actually be a viable solution. We don't have to fully, go into thinking about how we could use solar energy when that is a bit difficult to do at this current stage. And like you said, the transition part is I thought that was brilliant. So thank you for mentioning that. And the stigma part was also an excellent way to actually bring in nuclear energy as, yeah, you get it, right? So yeah.
Sindhuja, very nice. Let's move on to Suresh. Yeah.
Oh, well, more, I had a question, kind of. So, are you trying to say that? Oh, my camera's actually on, ma'am.
Yeah, when you talk, you switch on your camera and talk, okay?
Ma'am, his camera is turned on, actually.
Yeah,
I think because of our connection, we have issues sometimes. Yeah, he's turned on.
Well, I had a question first, Ajay. So, or Joel, were you trying to say that nuclear energy is a solution, or are you trying to say that nuclear energy is a problem?
A solution, at least for the temporary future, for the near future, it is a solution. But we need to still move on from nuclear energy into much more sustainable sources like renewables and so on, because nuclear energy does create a lot of waste and so on. So we must try to reduce that. But it's definitely a better alternative to fossil fuels, which we are using a lot right
now. Yeah, right. So as Aaron said previously, you need like a connection to climate change. So what I was thinking was you could relate to the carbon dioxide emissions through nuclear power plants and compare it to other fossil fuels like coal or oil, and like you can compare it and you can say that compared to oil or coal, nuclear energy would be better or it releases less amount of carbon dioxide, which would perhaps reduce climate change or such. So it's just like that's how you could like relate it to climate change. Besides, I think you're good. It was a great presentation.
Okay, I think is that Ajay actually Raghav I think has put it in the chat. His question. Yeah, Raghav.
Yeah, Mama, I have read that. I did read that.
So I think that's about it. Are there any other students who have any comment on this topic? No? Rajai, brilliant. You were fast and up and kicking. Very good. Thank you for beginning it. And children, you were very good. Constructive, really constructive. Okay, who's going to go next?
I can go, ma'am.
Okay, Pranita, go.
Climate change has had major health impacts on India, but probably the most noticeable would be the increasing malnutrition. Malaria and other carrier diseases, which are a major cause of child mortality, have started to spread into areas where colder temperatures had previously limited transmission. Even heat waves will contribute to the rise in mortality. Climate change has even disrupted the air quality, and which is expected to worsen in the coming years. In 2017, only 1/3 of India's cities met the national standard for annual concentrations of PM2. If you may not know what PM2 is an air pollutant that causes the air to appear hazy, making it difficult to see. Long-term exposure to this polluted air can have permanent health effects, such as accelerated aging lungs, loss of lung capacity, and decreased lung function. Development of diseases such as asthma are high. Citizens also become more prone to cancer because of this poor air quality. But we can make changes, such as installing well-equipped health stations in high-prone areas, building cycle-friendly networks to decrease the air emissions, CO2 emissions, and go green in general, and manage our agricultural waste in an orderly way. These steps may help reduce our air quality and help our national health in general. Thank you. That's it.
Yeah, Adam, go ahead. 1 minute timer, okay?
Timing, okay. Wow, that was an amazing presentation, by the way, Pranita. I was like seriously taken aback. That was seriously good. Everything was perfect. So you had the good thing. So you talked about the problem first, and then you went to the solution. But in the middle, I would have preferred it, and it would be a much better argument if you were to bring in a little bit of, as Cindy just said, you were to bring in a few more data and talk about the specificity of the rate of mortality. So if you were to talk about mortality and how it's being affected by climate change, that would actually aid your argument just a little bit better. That's the only thing I'd like to say. Otherwise, that was perfect. That was really good, actually.
Okay, I did not want to intrude, but being an EM teacher, I'm forced. Okay, so children, don't get confused between air pollution and climate change. Air pollution and global warming. These two are two different things. Okay, global warming happens because of carbon dioxide, basically carbon dioxide when it traps the heat. So it's not a kind of pollution at all. Okay, so air pollution is different. Air pollution happens because of toxic gases, and carbon dioxide is not a toxic gas. Okay, it just traps heat. So global warming happens. So global warming is not air pollution. Air pollution happens because of oxides of sulfur and nitrogen, not oxide of carbon. So don't get confused between these two. Okay? So Pranita, just look at it again, once again, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
But what you spoke about air pollution is very good. But that is not climate change. Okay? Okay, please continue. Good.
Anybody else who wants to give you a suggestion? So who goes next?
I can go next, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Can I share my screen? Because I do have like a graph that I wanted to explain, and it's like kind of excuse me because like I don't have like a clear solution just yet, but it's like a lot of raw information, and like I do kind of have some solutions, so like just excuse that. But can I share my screen? Give me a moment. Here. I think that's the one. Yeah, I think you guys can see it. So I'm working in like the health and education, but rather specifically the people and the government. So the specifics within the people and the government, I was going to cover, well, I am covering the economy of the people, politics, which I have so far just covered those two. So I have to still cover demographics of laws regarding climate change and the people's effect on this. So the economy of the people, India has a mixed economy, whereas most of India's workers rely on agriculture and the rest rely on traditional economy. It's an attractive company for outsourcing and cheap source of imports. Economy-wise, India could be where they are like at low rates of living at its gross domestic product per capita is 7,200, half of China's or Brazil's. It's an advantage as Indian workers don't need much income to survive. But even regarding this strong factor, the poverty rates of India economically today is at an all-time low. In 2021, it was mostly due to COVID-19. More than 47% to 56% of the total population is poor. Keep in mind that India's population is around 1.3 billion, which makes up a quarter of the world's population. So 47 to 56% of the population can't receive a proper source of income, meaning younger generations most likely don't have a source of education. So the real question here is, how does this play into climate change? Because I'm discussing about the economy. Keep in mind that as I say all these points and I talk about what I'm covering, it does have like a huge play and huge factor into climate change, so just bear with me here. How does this play into climate change? As I said earlier, most of India's workers rely on agriculture. Climate change changes agriculture about 4 to 9% each year, where it isn't a proper source to rely on. That's not really what I'm focusing on, as I'm not focusing on agriculture, so I won't go into depth with it, but rather focusing it on a different type of view on how agriculture has a play into economy. So what about the traditional economy, or rather India as a whole? How are they affected? Climate change threatens India's attempt to improve its citizen standards of living. More than 600 million people of Indians especially face acute water shortages. by 2030, 40% of the population will now have no access to drinking water, which gives us a brief of how climate change affects drinking water and falls into it's not classified as water pollution, but how we don't have proper sources of drinking water, like just basic sources of living. Most of India's rainwater falls into the 4-month monsoon season, and it isn't captured efficiently. Climate change will increase flooding from these monsoons. So this was taken from an article like called the threefold widespread extreme rain events over central India. So our people genuinely struggle with ways of living, such as finding a proper source of income to finding a proper source of drinking water. Something that I briefly covered for now is overpopulation. India is one of the most overpopulated countries in the world, second most populated actually. Within 40 years, India is expected to surpass China in country population. So effect on per capita income. Per capita income, for those of you that might not know, is a measure of amount of money earned by per person in a nation or geographic region. So it's kind of like a census, but including people's incomes in it. So just keep that in mind there, that it has like a really big play in our economy and government, and brings us economic growth, the per capita income and per capita domestic product, gross domestic product. Large population side and a rapid rate of growth results in low per capita income, and India is now the third largest economy in the world. So the per capita income has increased from the large 2 decades, but because of overpopulation, it is increasing at a very slow rate. But the two main causes leading an overpopulation in India are birth rate and still high. It's like still higher than the death rate, and the fertility is due. Population policies are following, but it is higher compared to other countries. For now, this is a very brief thing, and if overpopulation has a big play in climate change, especially with how economic growth and climate change, because economic growth and climate change go hand in hand. They're kind of like a battle, basically. So this is an excerpt that I found in an article from 2017. So India is now the home to 1.2 billion people. It's furthermore expected to grow to 1.8 billion before stabilizing around the middle of this century. If sufficient measures are taken, today India is stretched to its limit due to overpopulation. 57 billionaires control 70% of India's wealth. Highlighted this because in the future, I will be explaining why this is really important. This economic inequality leads to poverty, lacks to free medical assistance, etc., etc. So mind you, this paragraph was published in 2017.
I think, yeah, there are others to speak as well, dear.
So, let me just cover this really quickly, and I'll like just and end it up like just immediately. Just like yeah, actually like that's it. That's all really. So, one moment. Yeah, that's all. I think I wasn't sharing, but like yeah, that's it.
But it was great. But time management is also a very important skill.
Yeah, it was kind of raw information, so it's not really like just to sum it up, climate change isn't taken seriously government-wise. That's all. That's all that matters, to be honest. Because economically, we just like we care about money and profit, and so like that's all really.
Yeah.
Okay.
So always keep it short, okay? Always be respectful of others' time also. So keep it short. Anyway, it was very good.
Okay, Raghav, you've raised your hand. Are you going to be the first one to give your comments, Raghav? Raghav?
Yes, ma'am. So,
Yeah.
Prati, if that's the right way I'm pronouncing your name, your presentation was like really good. Even like the way you presented your statistics, your voice modulation, and all that stuff, it was like actually really good. That's what we do at like the end and before the presentation. But the only thing is, at the final presentation, right? Since there's so many of us from our school, and we have like 15 minutes, each one of us gets 1 minute total. So then before in like the practice sessions, if you go on for 5 minutes, you won't be able to go on for 1 minute there. And if you go on for 5 minutes there, then it basically misses out other people's turn, and then they just stop us. Like they don't allow you to speak for longer. They just be like, yeah, that's enough, Omega, we'll go to the next school. They literally did that to us a few times before, but then at the end they like might give us extra time. But apart from that, your presentation is really good, but maybe you could focus on a more specific part so it takes you less time. And another
Yeah,
thing is
cause
just
like politics part specified on that more, but I didn't know how. It's again raw information. I'll be summing it up better and like focusing on like the parts better and the demographics better. So like I'm so sorry about that time-consuming presentation.
Okay, the last thing is you're not
How long
supposed.
is it going to be? One second. How long is it going to be, Shri? The presentation?
Ma'am, we will hear out a few more, at least 3 or 4 more before we just move on to the next part.
10 minutes? 10 more minutes? Because we have to talk to the other students
Yeah,
also.
10 more minutes. Yes, definitely 10 more minutes for presentation. Yeah, go continue, Raghav. Are you done or you want to
Yeah,
say?
just one more thing. I think we should rather support our country and like say the good things our country did rather than the bad things. And that's just the last thing, because in most of the conferences we talk about like what India did good and stuff, and other countries talk about what they did good, and like they'll even ask questions to us in the actual conference like, oh, but I heard India is doing this. What is it actually doing? And you have to try to defend India, but then we're not supposed to go negative on India. That's all.
A true politician here. Good, Raghav. Good
Showing
suggestion.
the negative aspects also. Definitely you have to show.
Yeah,
But
because again, I'm so sorry about like the raw information. Because like I obviously I have to put in the practical side of it, but I'll like defend our country a bit more. So I'm
It's good,
completely sorry.
Prati, you help because many are like this. They have to understand it. So it's good. Your seniors are here. They will guide you. So it's good. Sindhuja, go ahead.
So yeah, I know almost 4 people I think spoke about how you went over time, and I get it because usually when you're really enthusiastic about a topic and you have like almost a lot of things to say, you want to fit in everything. But I get it that you used raw data, which we couldn't see because you just eventually didn't share your screen. But yeah, that's completely all right. This happens to almost everybody, the best of us. And so I think the only thing that you need to maybe focus on while you're presenting is the way you structure the flow of your speech or whatever. You need to make sure that you have like these like titles or headlines that you want to follow. So first, define maybe some key points, because you did some definitions in between, and that was a little bit hard for us as audience to try to understand what you're trying to say. So if you define everything in the beginning and then set the tone, then you can go on to the explanation and the impacts and stuff. So if you put in a good flow, I think that would be excellent. And I appreciate you talking about the negative aspects, because I feel like some people shy away from that, and it's good that you put forward that. But also positive aspects need to be given, like everybody else said. But overall, it was pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
Next
Both of
one.
you. Prati, I
Ma'am.
also felt a little fast. You were a little fast. So a little slow. Yeah. Okay, Manha, go ahead.
I'm not done. I have to do a couple more things, but I can just say what I've done so far. So I chose human and wildlife conflict provoked by climate change. So human and wildlife conflict is basically any human and wildlife interaction that negatively influences human social, economic, cultural life, wildlife conservation, or the environment. So human activities are the leading cause of climate change. There are many other causes, but human activities are mostly the leading cause, and it causes it alters like the greenhouse effect and everything. So this poses many obstacles for wildlife animals. Drought, storms, heat waves, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, and warming oceans are new realities. These dangerous weather patterns are directly harming thousands of wildlife animals, wreaking havoc in human and animal survival. But this is why is this important? So we must apprehend that climate change isn't only affecting us, but also the wildlife. And being humans, we need to be able to coexist with wildlife in order for both humanity and wildlife to thrive. So one of a major how is this affecting the Indian wildlife? The major one is the human-tiger conflict. So the Sundarbans is the world's largest contiguous mangrove forest and also the UNESCO World Heritage Site. And a research called Blue Carbon Estimation in the Coastal Zone of Eastern India showed that this forest is a carbon dioxide sink that has absorbed more than 41.5 million tons of carbon dioxide. Furthermore, the Sundarbans is home of thousands of species, including the endangered Bengal tigers. Due to rising sea levels, the Sundarbans is slowly sinking and shrinking. Also the increased salinity in water and soil is negatively affecting these mangrove forests, and this is reducing their capacity to absorb carbon dioxide and also remain a home for animals. As per the 2019-2020 census by West Bengal's Forest Department, the number of Bengal tigers in the Sundarbans is 96,
but it has actually increased over the years because it used to be very, very low. So due to some improvements made, the numbers have actually increased, but it's still not enough to for as a population, because this tiger population is one of the world's largest, so it needs to have a good amount of tigers. And the warming of Earth is enough to kill the few tigers left in the Sundarbans if we continue in the path we're going right now. And a study done in 2010 by the World Wildlife Fund for Nature projected that the sea level rise of 11 inches could reduce the number of tigers in the Sundarbans by 96% within the next few decades. So obviously we need to kind of divert from the route we're going now if we want to see changes and also an increase in the tigers. So so again, since if the tigers and Sundarbans die off, the wildlife tiger numbers would be impacted, because this is again one of the largest remaining populations of wild tigers. So we obviously need to come up with solutions, and I will be researching more on that because I haven't really finished. So yeah, thank you.
So who's going to comment? Raghav has raised a hand. Yes, Raghav?
I think it is up from. I think it is up from last time. I don't have anything.
You don't have anything. Okay. Anybody? Okay, Ganga ma'am. You have to unmute, Ganga ma'am. We can't hear you.
I just went to the kitchen, so I couldn't hear you. But I know her. She might have definitely spoken very well. I'm so sorry. I just missed it. Just so sorry. Shri, you can give the feedback.
Ma'am, may I?
Go ahead, Arun.
So you spoke more about wildlife conservation, and since the topic here is more towards climate change, and you spoke only 2 points regarding that. One was ocean level rise threatening tigers, and one was heat rise threatening tigers. So it would be better if you speak more about climate conservation, link it more, rather than so much of wildlife conservation. That's all. Thank you.
Hey, Arjun has become a big man now, huh? I haven't seen him for like 1.5 years. Big boy. Speaking well.
Sindhuja, would you like to say something else, Sindhuja?
Well, I actually really liked your speech and your explanation, and I feel like you had a very strong introduction, and you actually roped in climate change, and I liked how you did have lots of focus on wildlife conservation, like Arjun said. But yeah, you could also. I know you're halfway done with your research, right? If I'm not wrong. So
yeah, I need to do a lot more because I did like halfway.
Okay, cool. That's not a problem because I think it's only been like a short period of time that you guys were able to work with this research. So I think you're good to go. You're on the right track. So, yeah.
Thank you, Arjun and Sindhuja. So we got 2 more to present. So 2 of you. So who is it going to be? Any volunteers, or we call out names?
Ma'am, can I try?
Sure, definitely. Go ahead.
Switch on your camera, my dear.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
I'm facing technical issues today. Is it okay if I have it off?
How do we
Try
know?
on? It'll be nice if we really could see you. If it's not, then we can't do anything about it, of course.
Ma'am, can I try to turn it on a little later?
At least in your profile, you put your photograph, okay, so that we know who is speaking.
Yes, ma'am. Shameful. Ma'am, my presentation is about communicable diseases. Communicable diseases can get affected by climate change as different diseases spread in different speeds in different climates. For example, dengue spreads very rapidly in summer, and this is because mosquitoes increase in number during the summer, hence causing the cases of dengue to increase in summer or hot climate. This is a threat for India since it has quite a hot climate, and there are almost 20,474 cases of dengue fever on average per year in India. And the main problem is that India has a hot climate and mosquitoes thrive in hot climate. So dengue is very common in India. Dengue spreads really easily in the months of June to October, which is sort of that summertime. And dengue also spreads during the monsoon season because of these puddles and ponds and the moisture, which provides a great nesting and breeding grounds for mosquitoes, causing cases to rise in monsoon as well. But it is known that heavy rainfall can also flush away the breeding grounds of mosquitoes. And dengue fever is caused by mosquitoes. The species of mosquitoes that spread this disease is Aedes, and when a female mosquito takes its blood meal, it releases saliva. This saliva prevents the blood from clotting, helping the mosquito to take the blood with ease. And this is also the cause of how the person gets infected with the dengue virus. If a mosquito takes a blood meal from a person that is infected with dengue virus, then that mosquito also becomes infected and can spread this infection to another when taking another blood meal, which is also another way of how dengue virus gets spread easily. And the number of mosquitoes increases during the summertime because the climate provides a very suitable and favorable conditions for mosquito breeding. Ma'am, my presentation isn't over. This is how much I've got so far.
Raghav? Yes, Raghav, go ahead.
Okay. Firstly, your presentation, the way you spoke, it was like really slow and then really good. Like it's like you basically understood everything that you said thoroughly, and you're like re-explaining it. Which makes it way better for the audience or the people from other countries and all that stuff to understand, and they really feel like you have a passion about the topic. But then, so when I just googled when you were speaking, I just googled dengue and climate change, and the first result that comes up is dengue is I mean climate change is not a significant thing that impacts dengue. So maybe you should look at more a topic that more directly influences um, climate change rather than dengue. But otherwise, the way you spoke was really good.
You can include other insect-borne diseases as well. Dengue is influenced by climate change because the mosquitoes they breed in warm climate. So you might not never have heard about malaria or dengue 25 years back or 30 years back, but now we hear it often. That is because of climate change. So there is a direct connection between these two. So what you can do, you can include a few more insect-borne diseases. Okay.
Okay, ma'am, yes, ma'am. I'll add on a few more diseases related to
Yeah,
insect.
you can give a little more statistics showing that how it has increased in the last few decades, and then related connected to rising temperatures. Then you can connect it. Even if it is not given in the website, you can connect it if you have the data. Okay. Okay. Raghav,
Yes,
where is
ma'am, I'll
Rajiv
surely do
today?
that.
I don't see Rajiv today. Where is he?
I'm not sure.
You are not sure. Do you live in the same house?
No, I came into my room and then it was full, so I just joined the meeting, and then I was just
Would you ask him to join the
yeah,
meeting?
yeah, I'll go and check.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just have one final person to present. So who's that brave one?
Ma'am, may I like?
Yeah, Sneharika, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, just 1 minute. Yes, ma'am. Can you see me, ma'am? Okay, so hi all. My topic is irrigation in India. So irrigation, there are two types of like methods. One is the traditional method and modern method. So they both are further classified into motor or pulley system, chain pump, Deki and Rahat, or the lever system under the traditional methods, and sprinkler system and drip irrigation under the modern methods. So the traditional method mostly needs cattle or human power or like a force to act, and the modern methods just need machines to work. So for the both of the methods there are pros and cons. So in traditional farming it wastes a lot of water, like there's no proper mechanism and like something like that. So it does not need so much of money, and the farmers, like the small farmers, don't need to like learn about it and research about it and work so much like how to operate it and all that. And also the traditional systems, oh sorry, the modern systems also have some cons and pros. The modern systems like save a lot of water, and also it doesn't need any manpower, or the farmers don't need to work so much. But it also has a cons, like there are mostly costly, and like small village farmers, like very poor farmers cannot afford them. But irrigation has also raised problems like water logging and wastage of water, like that. In India, mainly drip irrigation, wells and tube wells are the main source of irrigation. But India also faces so many soil problems like lack of nitrogen facility, water logging, and this causes the low production of agriculture. Uh, 72% of the rural household depends on agriculture. A study also found that irrigating decreases the temperature during crop growing seasons, like from 3 to 4 degrees. But it also depends on the rainfall, like how it affects. That's it, ma'am.
Okay, Arjun, go ahead.
Just a clarification, can you repeat the parts of the speech where you linked it to the climate change?
Actually, I didn't link it most, but in the last, the last one, right? I mean,
No, I'm talking about the whole speech. I couldn't really get much related to climate change. So,
yeah, actually, I didn't mostly link it to climate change. I have to do that. It's halfly done.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Raghav, go ahead.
I think my hand was raised from then. I didn't hear it. I'm sorry again.
Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is just a pointer. I feel like, yeah, as Arjun said, that I mean, as you said too, that there was too much linked to climate change. So I feel like you can start with climate change at the base level and then go on to link it with irrigation. So you get a clear idea of how it's connected. So because when you start with irrigation, you get one small detail linked to climate change. So I feel like you just start with climate change and then move on to that. So all the best in
Yeah,
your research.
sure.
Great.
Go ahead, ma'am.
You can easily connect it to climate change, okay? The sector that is going to be affected because of global warming is agriculture, and that is because of irrigation, all right? Water availability will be
Yes, ma'am.
a problem. So you can easily start with climate change and then show some statistics how availability of water has decreased, reduced over the years, and then connect it and then come to, all about irrigation.
Yes, ma'am. I'll work on it, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
So Ganga ma'am, you can say what you have to say overall for presentations if there is something that you want to mention.
I think they are on the right track and very enthusiastic. And within this short period of time, they have done a good job, and they can definitely do better. Uh, Shri, you know all the topics, right? Whatever topics we have discussed, all of them, all of those are covered, right? Equally covered, like equal weightage, equal number of students
Uh,
in all.
it's just that we haven't really put them under groups and they haven't had their meetings. So that is when the newcomers, I think they will find it a little difficult to proceed on their own. So I think it would be wise at the end of this meeting if we, actually group them up. Once you fill in your this Google Sheets where Raghav has shared it in the chat box, once you've done that itself, it'll be easy for us to, allot you to your specific groups and then go ahead with your work because we can appoint one group leader to guide you all through. So please, all of you today, make sure that you're filling in the Google Sheet mentioning what is your particular topic that you're going to do. So that will really help. So further, you can have meetings with your seniors. One senior who's already been here who can guide you will be with you. So if you have any doubts, any clarification that's needed, you can always get in touch with them. Okay, so it's best you fill it today. We will finalize it. Okay. Yes, go
Those
ahead.
who want to be the leaders, they can put their names in the chat box or in the Google Docs itself. Those who would like to be the leaders. I would prefer the seniors become the leaders. All right. The seniors that we had last year, if they become the leaders, it would be easier and you select the topic that you feel you are more comfortable with. Okay, I know Raghav you will do. And all the seniors can do. Okay. So we have Rajiv, Arjun, Kevin was also there, right? Akash, Sindhuja, Aaron. Where are you, Aaron? So all these guys can be the leaders. All right. So today, when we have the meeting with Wayne, mostly it would be listening, but it would be very nice if two students could brief him about what we have done, like how many groups we have made already and how you guys are working. At least you can tell him about the groups that we have, agriculture or energy or transport. So at least two students, volunteers we need who would, in case if he asks, even if he doesn't ask, you can just volunteer and you can just say, hi, Wayne, how are you? And then
I
even,
can do it, but like if someone else wants to, it's fine by me. So
okay. Yeah, it would be, you can also do, but it would be nice if seniors are there because they know how these things are structured, what the plan of action consists of, the various aspects. Pratika, we had a discussion about it, so now you are also well aware. But still, I would prefer if two senior students can do it.
Okay, Rajiv has put up his name. Is there another one who can volunteer for doing this? Please do
Yeah.
it now.
One more
Write it
student.
out in the chat box or just raise your hand. It's understood.
One can be Rajiv, and one more we need.
Okay, Aaron has raised a hand.
Okay, so Aaron and Rajiv, both of you will be doing it. Is
Yes,
it
ma'am. I'll
Aaron?
be able to do. Yes, ma'am.
Both of
Yeah,
you
I suggest both of you should have a discussion, okay, before you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sindhuja, you can also be with them. Let there be a girl also, two boys dominating.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so three of you, what you do, three of you discuss it after the meeting and then decide who is going to say what. All right. Just talk to him, address him, ask him about what is happening in US, etc. Anyway, we'll have a meeting about that. So all of you can be there, and even the new students can ask questions to Wayne when we have the meeting. All of you are going to join, right?
Yeah, just now
yes,
Sneha
ma'am. Yeah,
that
ma'am.
we will not be in a position to join. So
Mom
Sneha,
too.
maybe we'll record it and we will see if that can be shared with all of you. And Raghav has also suggested that we form a group now.
We have
Raghav,
a WhatsApp group for SCoPA now. I'm sorry to interrupt.
yeah, Raghav.
We have a WhatsApp group for SCoPA. I think a lot of the people who were there last time, they're in the group. So
Oh, you
I'm not
already.
sure if they're in the meeting.
Okay, then can you
Yeah,
add
like
the rest
the
of them?
last time.
Are you the admin, Raghav?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I think a lot of people in the meeting are the admin. Ganga
Okay,
Mam's the
actually,
admin.
I'm not part of
Yeah,
that
a
group.
lot. If
They are
you tell
not
me a
allowing.
number, I'll make you the admin.
Okay.
I don't have your WhatsApp number. If you tell me a number, I'll make
I'll
you
send
admin.
it to
I have
you.
only one number, Raghav, for everything. Okay, I will just pass it on in the chat.
Oh, so
Okay,
it's
and
Arjun's number. Is it Arjun's number?
it's my number actually. Excuse me.
So
Arjun,
You
it's
it's
can
different from that?
you can put your
Okay,
phone
okay.
numbers in the Google Docs so that Rahul can add everybody's number. Google Docs, the
yeah.
number may
So,
not here. Put it in the Google Docs.
yes, against
And
your name in the doc, you can just
Ma'am,
add. Yeah, with your topics, you can just add in your. Yeah, yeah, Manha, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry for interrupting, but like my WhatsApp number is different from my actual number because like my US number is my WhatsApp number. So like I just need like if someone texts like they can't add me, but I can add people. So like I need to like
Okay, Manha,
like
let's
I
make it simple. We're
Yeah,
all
I have an American number too, so like I can't
just
technically
give
add
your
anyone.
WhatsApp number. Just give your WhatsApp number.
Okay,
Oh,
Manha,
What
sure.
please get in touch with Raghav. Raghav, please give your number to Manha. Let her.
yeah, if I text them, then they can add my number. Like that's how it.
Yeah, you do that.
Yeah.
You sort it out.
Thank you.
So,
Yes, Ganga ma'am, what's the next? Go ahead.
children, so just 2 more minutes for the juniors to stay here. So, Mr. Wayne Jacoby, he is the director of Global Education Motivators, and he is the one who conducts all the conferences on behalf of United Nations, all the student conferences. He is a geography teacher, extremely passionate teacher, and he likes to involve students in projects related to sustainable development goals and millennium development goals and human rights. Very passionate. He has been doing it for many years, and he has been associated with us for the last 13 years, 12 to 13 years. And he is very fond of our school. Okay, so the meeting today is about briefing about, he wants to brief you about the SCoPA and one more conference, high level conference, student leadership conference on sustainable development goals, United Nations Student Leadership Conference on development, sustainable development. So we call it UNSLCD, in short SLCD. So he will be briefing about these two conferences which you will be attending. SCoPA is going to be on 20th and SLCD is going to be on June 7th. All right. So when he is briefing, you can stop him wherever you feel like. You can ask questions, but be careful, be sensible, be respectful, and be formal. Use formal language. Okay. Yeah, Shri, suggestions. What do you?
That's it. I think one of you had mentioned that you aren't receiving any of the other communications other than the mails. Who was that?
It was me, ma'am, Pranita.
Sadhana. Right. Pranita.
Okay, Pranita, what we will do today is we will finalize your topics and please edit the document and give in your details. And also now that phone number, please send it so that Raga will add you all to the group. Later, don't come and say we are not added in the group because it will be because you haven't given your numbers. So make sure your names are right. Make sure you give in the number. I'd suggest you go to the document where I have sent for the certification to check your names. No? In that, you
Yes,
could
just
include your
add
phone.
number.
Yeah, Raga?
Shri, timing for
Okay.
the meeting, will it be 7:30 or 8 o'clock?
Actually, 8, no, ma'am, when we calculated the time, would you like that they be present earlier?
Yeah, the Zoom link is there, so you log into it at 7:30 itself. All right.
Raghav, you were suggesting that we do it in that doc, right? Where we
No,
have
I'll
sent
just
in for
tell
certification?
everyone to go to the other doc. Yeah, we just do it in the certification doc because everyone already has it.
Yeah. In that doc, we have already, your names are clear. So against that, just type in your phone number so that Raghav gets the details. And please finish this documentation today of your topics. Only then we can assign you your groups and then your leaders can be finalized so you can work along with them and enhance your presentations. So, Sridevi ma'am, you are there with us. You've been listening to presentation, so you want to suggest anything? You want to give your opinions or thoughts?
Thank you, Srilekha ma'am. Absolutely sorry, I'm not there for the entire session because my network was not stable, wasn't stable. But then, as far as I have listened to all the presentation, everyone has done a wonderful job. They have, their research work was intense, and just go ahead, children. All the very best. Wherever possible, I can stretch my helping hand. And just one thing, I don't know if it is relevant again. So if you could connect with the real life situations that is prevailing now, it would be fine, I believe, because most of the presentations were like, beating around the bush, repeating the same thing again and again. That's what I felt. Whatever I have heard, with that, I'm just giving this feedback. If you can do a little research of what is happening now and then connect with the climate change and then present it, maybe it makes more sense, I believe. So this is my feedback. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So, Ganga ma'am, that's it for the new joinees. We will ask the senior students to stay back. Anybody? Yeah, any questions? Yes,
Ma'am,
Sadhana.
I have a doubt, ma'am. Ma'am, actually prepared on my topic, but I didn't present today, ma'am. Can I present it or should I share it via email, ma'am, to you?
No need to do both of it. Sadhana, what you do is you just, you were here when others were presenting,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, you heard the
Yes.
comments.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So actually, if you were there and if you've heard the comments, I'm sure you know in which direction they all indicate you to take. So you just stick on to that and keep working on it. And today, once the groups are assigned, you will be given a leader and they will guide you. Okay, and we will also join in to help you. So now we don't want to listen to any more presentation because we are short of time. We will have a meeting next week where you can do your presentation, Sadhana. Is that all right, Sadhana?
Yes, ma'am, sure, ma'am.
Thank you so much,
I'll ask
Sadhana.
the leaders, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So I think all of you, I think Ajay, Pranita, Prati, Manha, Sri Lakshmi, and Sneharika, you've given your presentation. Wonderful that you came forward and you've done it voluntarily. That itself is a good thing. So thank you so much. And seniors, I think they were wonderful in giving their opinions also. So thank you. Those who are there in the previous SCoPA meet, please stay with us, and rest of you can log out. And please do update the documents with your phone numbers and your groups.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Please log in by
Thank you,
7.
ma'am.
Thank you, Ganga ma'am, for
Thank you,
reminding.
ma'am.
7:30 log in
Thank
to
you,
the
ma'am.
anyway, I'll send a
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah,
Ma'am,
thank you.
I wouldn't be able to join at 7:30. Is it okay if I join at like 7:55-ish?
Yeah, I think it should be okay.
Yeah, because I can't join at 7. Is that okay?
Yeah, just try to log in early, but of course we can't say anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.